Today's AskReddit post. What is it like to black out? Drugs, alcohol, medical issues, etc. Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. I don't remember. No way. Same here. Blackout drunk is the only one I've experienced. One moment you are enjoying yourself. The next you are waking up with little memory of what occurred over the last few hours. You have to talk to others to stitch together what you do remember and try to work out what you did. Then you say, I did what? Once they respond, you say, OMG. Friend brought over Carl's Jr. randomly the next day. I had to ask him why, as I don't like Carl's Jr. Apparently I was raving about how good Carl's Jr. is the night before. Reminds me of a roommate I used to have. He was the kind of guy that would go out once a week and come back straight goofy. Every time he'd come back, he'd ask me if we could go to Taco John's and ask me to make the room stop spinning. After the first time I told him how he was when he came back, he was absolutely appalled that he had even thought about wanting Taco John's. I miss that guy. They have good it's not gonna lie. It's like falling asleep while still awake. Happened 3 days ago. For me, who has, regrettably, blacked out drinking, it doesn't really feel like anything. You wake up having no memory of a certain chunk of the night before. It kinda sucks because the only way you can know for certain what happened is to see a videos and pictures. But those are always embarrassing. This, specifically, is why I don't drink large quantities of alcohol anymore. People who don't black out can sometimes act like they don't believe you. 2. My boyfriend, a bartender, has never blacked out, and it took him years to see how troubling it was when I did, because I would have zero memory of entire parties but people wouldn't think I was even that drunk. Dude, it's such a weird feeling. And it's extremely anxiety inducing because you just wake up somewhere and you're immediately like, how the duck did I get here? And have to make sure you didn't make a complete fool of yourself in the process. Don't forget about wondering who you need to apologize to. A blackout is when your conscience goes into a witness protection program. Robin Williams. For those of you who don't know what that is, blacking out is when you drink so much that your brain goes to sleep, but your body gets all out of the Tiger and Soldiers on John Mulaney. You ever drink so much you black out, or as I like to call it, time travel? Dave Attell. Insomniac was such a ducking great show. I was never disappointed when I'd be up light channel surfing and Comedy Central had an Insomniac run on. Plot twist. Dave got sober and still ducking hysterical. Shitty and scary. You wake up not knowing how you got there. You try to remember the last thing you can and piece together what happened. You usually acted like a complete ducking asshole between then and waking up. Yep, I used to black out at my dealer's house a lot. I would wake up not knowing what happened. For me, I was never an asshole to people but usually got taken advantage of. Sometimes I would wake up naked or just in my panties not knowing what he or his clients did to me. Damn, I hope you're in a better situation now. Much better. That's great to hear. Blacking out is like time traveling. Forward a bit and not fun. It can be fun sometimes. It's cool when everyone's recollection of a great night comes back slowly over separate fragments of stories from multiple people coming together to form the full picture, but can definitely have the opposite effect if the night was complete shit. I've only blacked out once while drinking, and everyone was telling me I had a great time. Though I could have gotten us seriously hurt with some of the shit I was saying. I am a sketchy neighborhood late at night. Last thing I remember from that night was playing this card game with everyone, and the person dealing cards was explaining that if we talk during the game, we have to draw a card. More cards equals you lose the game. I just wanted to drink and play Smash, so my bright idea was to just keep talking until the whole deck was in my hand. Can't play if I have all the cards right. After getting the hand, I got a few nasty looks from the girl dealing cards, but I was diving back into my Jameson anyways. What kind of boring ass game limits talking while drinking? Sometimes you spend 6 grand at a strip club and can't remember it the next take until you look at your credit card bill. Holy duck. I am glad I am wide-eyed too much of a Scrooge to ever do that. Yup, even when ducked up, I'm like, "Hi guys, if we carry out it's cheaper than paying for delivery." That becomes the longest ducking walk of your life even though it's only 5 blocks. It's a fun walk though. Video on, video off, video on again. I've passed out from heat fatigue before and it's basically this. The video does a fade to black transition and then it cuts to the next scene where you're on the ground. Is there a cool music transition? There's music, but it's polka. Not fun. First off, you don't remember anything so you can't enjoy it. Second, the other physical symptoms you experience like nausea and vomiting are unpleasant. Definitely not fun. I blacked out due to low blood pressure caused by chemo-induced anemia. I was standing in the bedroom, talking with my wife. She tells me it was as if someone hit my off switch mid-sentence and down I went. 911 was called but I had somewhat recovered by the time they arrived. 2 units of whole blood later and I felt much better. After that my next several chemo sessions included 1 or 2 units of blood as well until my red blood cell count stayed high enough that I no longer needed it. That sounds brutal. Glad you are okay. I blacked out during in-home hemodialysis a few times and a few times at the in-center. It's scary as duck. And a few times I thought I was dying. Basically my vision would start to get black from the sides inward and you can't stand up and your brain starts to go blank and your knees buckle under your weight if you're still standing. It freaked my wife out and I woke up completely disoriented each time and completely drained. I also have been under anesthesia a bunch of times. It's way different. It feels like the time you missed never happened. Your brain's inner clock doesn't log it as if you were asleep. Spot on description. I've never been able to describe why going under anesthesia feels different than sleeping. But you put it perfectly. Scientists think that anesthesia scrambles the connections between different parts of your brain. So each little part is still functioning normally but can't communicate with the other parts. Everything gets out of sync and basically nothing gets done. You can't form memories or anything like that because the memory part of your brain isn't getting anything from the sensory parts. I think scientists also found out what happens to me every time I try to sit down and study. From John Mullany. For those of you who don't know what that is, blacking out is when you drink so much that your brain goes to sleep, but your body gets all out of the tiger and soldiers on. I'll tell you about blacking out. It was always weird when I'd go out for the night with like some money, and then black out and wake up with no money. It was even weirder, though, when I went out for the night with some money, black out, and wake up with more money, because that means that I earned money. That means that I traded goods and or services, which is scary, but sometimes I'd almost be proud of it, you know, like, bro, I turned $20 into $100. I am a financial wizard. Like, I would like to give people money advice now, but I don't know how that would go. You know, like they would just be like, "John, we're looking to get rich quick." And I'd be like, "Well, have you tried mixing daiquiris with Ambien?" They're like, "Does that work?" I'm like, "It did not work." There have been a few times I've finished a night out with more money than I started with. Typically when everyone else is way more drunk and it's your turn to get the round. Everybody gives you a 20 for a beer and tells you to keep the change. These days we just take it in turns paying for the whole round because of that. This is how teenagers start selling drugs. Someone told me that I should experience it. Reading comments, I'm not convinced. I've blacked out exactly once. It's not really necessary. It's exactly like being regular drunk except you don't get to hold on to all the fun memories. And it's a little scary because you don't remember how you got from your last memory to waking up. I've also never met anyone who acts differently in a fun way or has a better time when they transition between regular drunk and blackout drunk. They're either exactly the same, and no one knows they've blacked out, or they're sloppy and barely awake so you need to babysit them. Being sober or drinking moderately is preferable. This is by far the best description here. As far as I can tell, when you're blackout drunk, you're still sort of functioning. It's just your brain is so damaged at that point that your memory stops recording. So when you try to recollect the event, there's nothing there because your brain was unable to form a memory. I don't know how true that is, but it's an explanation I've heard before. It's consistent with my experience. I have been blackout drunk before, but a video of me that I cannot recollect shows me functioning as though I'm just very drunk. To be honest, it was kind of disturbing to see. I equate it more to your brain stops worrying about short-term memory and focuses on keeping you alive. I've blacked out a few times and seen plenty of people black out. With some people, I can tell what point they won't remember anything. With my brother, when he starts repeating stuff every 5 minutes and keeps saying it is what it is, I know he's not gonna remember any of that. If you want to black out, drink a lot in a short amount of time. If you don't want to black out, space it out. And when you do black out, well, it just is what it is. You're completely unaware of anything until you wake up and you're confused as hell. I found the most disorienting thing was that initially, I had zero sense of how much time had passed. 1 second, 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, no clue. And it takes a little while to fully get your bearings. As it turned out, I only blacked out for about a minute, but during that time I still had enough time to have a dream. It felt like waking up from a deep sleep, but I had no idea about anything. If you do it enough with alcohol, your friends start to slowly disappear. Edit. I'm sober now, and life is much happier. Holy hell, did I feel that. Ditto. Medical. Epileptic seizures. My brain shuts down, not just blackouts. It also depends how bad it is. It can be from spastic in and out of consciousness to complete unconscious seizure. All there is a blackness from my eyes not functioning when I am semi-conscious. I'm never conscious during mine. I just come out of it confused and scared. Same. Shit is frightening. You wake up remembering random little flashes of the night before and feeling kind of nauseous, then hear stories about ridiculous things you said or did. Then you start to write a text and it auto-completes to "Hey, sorry about last night." I was standing at the printer at work. At the time I was 5 feet 8 inches and 98 pounds. I was suffering from anorexia nervosa and was truly at death's door. I was certain if I hit the floor and stayed there I'd go to the hospital and they would make me eat. So when I blacked out I climbed my way back up the printer. I don't remember anything until a week later, but I know I didn't go to the hospital then. Hope you're doing better. I once blacked out from taking too many laxatives, had some head issues, and my parents heard me fall in the bathroom. I covered it up and said everything was good and they never found out what actually happened. Hugs to you. Hope you're doing well. Are you okay now? Wake up and go through your phone to see what bullshit you did. Waking up to the dread of 40+ notifications on your phone. Good lord. I remember this feeling of dread back in the day. I didn't even want to check my phone or social media. However, I've also woken up to job offers, dates, and great results from my blackouts from drinking in my 20s. I seem to get very confident and ambitious when I black out. Sometimes, it really worked out, but I don't suggest it. Blacking out on drugs is very patchy. You'll remember small bits and pieces, and that's exactly how it feels while it's happening. You're either completely aware or you're 100% not. 1 second you're one place, the next second you're in another wondering how the hell you got there. You can usually tell when someone is close is currently blacked out on drugs. Blacking out on alcohol is why weirder. You'll be pretty awake while you're blacked out. Physically and mentally you'll be rather present. Sometimes people won't even know you've reached blackout. You'll make very stupid decisions and remember almost none of it once you've come to. But during, you'll feel as if you won't forget a thing. Blacking out due to medical issues almost always causes a lack of memory of the entire occurrence. 1 second you're awake, next second you're waking up, completely unaware of what's just happened. I took a couple puffs of sativa while on a molly roll once and starting fading in and out like I've never experienced with alcohol. Though TBH I don't black out like most people do from drinking, so it was probably a similar feeling. I just kept losing a few minutes here and there and having to catch up with what my friends were talking about. I've blacked out a couple of times while peeing. Micturition syncope I guess is a thing. Both times I got nauseous very fast and blacked out seconds later. The first time I was camping and it was pitch black. I couldn't figure out what was touching my face until I realized it was the ground. Got a nasty bruise from that one. The second I fell face first onto the toilet. 0/10 can't recommend. A few people have mentioned passing out while going to the bathroom. Maybe this was it. Fainting in the woods at night sounds scarier. They feel different from one another. I've blacked out for no explained reason before, and as I came to, I could hear everyone yelling my name and I felt like I was waking up from a dream. I felt extremely relaxed and comfortable and I felt really warm. I've blacked out by choking myself, the blackout game when I was a teen, and I woke up and I felt like my whole body was vibrating. Again, kind of felt like waking up from a dream. I've blacked out several times from drinking way too much. That is just simply like a period of time never happened. Blackout and wake up later and you have no idea what happened in between. Emo head Josh, is that you? That blackout game shit was crazy. Brother. Haha, yeah, it was dumb as hell. I had a friend that had someone do it to him with a shirt and pick him up. Basically hanging him. He had a seizure afterwards. It was scary as shit. I think that's when I realized how dumb and dangerous it was. A close family friend's kid actually died doing this while home alone. Used a towel and couldn't untie the fabric in time because it was damp. Your brain stops recording. You just forget it the next morning. You remember going to X place. You remember taking drinking Y. You remember taking drinking a lot of Y. And then that's it. This brought back awful memories of blacking out. Waking up and thinking I just drank a bit too much only to be told I was stripping on a lawn and trying to fight people. So I guess that's what it's like. Not to mention feeling guilty about the embarrassing ways I acted the numerous times I blacked out. For the rest of my life. Sometimes I wonder if I have an allergy to any hard alcohol. I seem to only tolerate beer, wine. Hello, me. My rock bottom was waking up in my birthday suit climbing up and down stairs without any idea about where I was. Turns out it was my friend's, fortunately largely empty, apartment complexer. My friends had left me downstairs, lift not working and too heavy to carry up. Tried to fight two of them and punched a cabbie. Anyhow, only BS since. Can't handle anything above 6-7 drinks if hard alcohol is involved. Like I know I can handle 5, but by the time I get to 5 I'm convinced of my invincibility and continue drinking, only to repent it the morning after. You just enter a deep sleep, like when you get anesthesia before a surgery. Then you wake up with little to no recollection of what happened. Terrifying. I used to drink a lot and I was all too familiar with blacking out. I would be at a bar and suddenly be waking up in my bed having no idea how I got there or what I did while blacked out. And then I would do it all again that same night. It's like having a hole in your memory. You know something is there but just can't find it. You remember stuff. Then you wake up. Then you discover additional stuff was done in between. I've successfully done entire quest lines in Skyrim while blacked out. I'll wake up, remember I wanted to do something in game, open it up, and find that like 7 quests have already been done, with zero recollection of doing them. Also you're married to a hag raven and in debt, stole a goat, sold it to a giant and trashed a temple of Debella. Everything in different cities. I feel yeah, man. You lose all memory of what happened during that time period. Though with alcohol if you try hard enough you will remember bits and pieces. What's unclear is whether the bits and pieces are what actually happened or your own imagining of what people tell you. I blacked out after a head trauma. Drive shaft from a semi hit me across the head. Put me down for at least 5 minutes. What's it like? You don't remember what happened or how you got to be laying on the floor, but there's a huge knot on your head and it hurts and you can't think straight. Had moderate concussion and post-concussion syndrome. Out of work for a year and a half. Lost my job, my truck, went to food pantries. Disability was just enough to pay house. Medical bills forced bankruptcy. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.